What becomes 10 times creepier at night? Cornfields. Feels like I'm being stalked. I went to a very rural high school and often I worked, stayed past dark for rehearsal. I was in theater. Whenever the corn was high we had a rule. Do not ever stop, and if you hit something vaguely humanoid, keep driving before it gets you. It was technically morning, but it was still pitch black, so I'm going to say it still counts. Years ago I was driving to school in the morning. Cornfields on either side with fog so thick you could barely see. As I was coming around a curve in the road I saw something that looked like it was dragging itself across the road by its arms. It was fucking terrifying, and I floored it to get the heck out to there. As I was passing it was like time slowed down, probably from the gallon of adrenaline pumping through my veins, and I saw what it was. It was a rabbit. Well, it was half of a rabbit. It had gotten ran over by a car and squished in half, and it was still alive and trying to drag itself across the road. So, still horrifying, but at least I didn't have to worry about a murderer. Probably. Oh no, if that ain't the truth. My family and I go to this campground in Pennsylvania during the summer and it's built around Amish farmland. They have corn stalks and every time I walk out in the night to pee, I have to hurry because I feel like someone is going to come out through there. A parked car with someone in it, and you can only see the silhouette. 9/10 times it's just dudes waiting for their dealer. As someone who used to be a private investigator, I'm sorry. If it makes you feel better, most of the time I was browsing Reddit, singing Backstreet Boys, or listening to audiobooks. An ice cream truck slowly driving through the neighborhood playing the Pop Goes the Weasel melody. Not uncommon in some parts of the UK. Apparently it's just a front for selling drugs. I don't know for sure, but it's extremely likely. You won't hear them at 2 AM, but just last week I saw one at 9:30 PM in the cold night rain. Doubt anyone would be getting ice cream at that time. That's a front for anything but ice cream, I'll tell you what. There's something about flying a kite at night that's so unwholesome. My dad once flew a kite off the garage roof at night. He tied a mini torch to it, and we could hear the neighbors talking about UFOs and arguing over who to call about it. Hello mother dear. In this house we obey the laws of thermodynamics. This is way too far down. There's an elderly woman down the road who will often stand outside and call for her cat to come home. Sometimes for a few minutes, sometimes hours. However long it takes the cat to come. In the daytime, it's just laughable. But at night, she's a gown wearing silhouette under the street light, calling some name like something out of an urban legend, and it's horrifying. When I had first moved here and heard that going on at midnight, I turned off all my lights and peeked through the window blinds. Thought it had to be some kind of lost spirit. I also can't shake the mental image of man in a cat costume crawling toward her on all fours. My baby, there you are. Sounds like a creepypasta. I also can't shake the mental image of man in a cat costume crawling toward her on all fours. Come again. Could you confirm she has a cat? Sounds like Grandma Death. Look up the Cat Man of Edinburgh. At least, I think that's the Scottish town that he's known in. Liking someone's really old post on social media. That post you made on Instagram about that peach in a fruit bowl was really interesting. You took it 4 years ago. Dude, it's just me being nostalgic. The random house settling / creaking noises. The footsteps coming from the attic as you're falling asleep. This too is creepy at all times. No idea why this isn't higher. It's like the mirror thing, but with your ears. If it's completely quiet you start hearing random noises, and if you overthink it, they start sounding more and more like footsteps. It's why I lock my room every night, otherwise I just have to get up and open the door to make sure no one is there every 5 minutes. Playgrounds. Swings swinging creakily. Story time. When I was in college I used to hang out at a friend's house that was a few miles from my apartment. A couple of times my roommate drove us and got trashed, leaving me the choice of sleeping on the floor or walking home. I like my bed. The path home goes between a playground and a cemetery. No biggie, right? Did I mention it's 3 AM? Well, I'm walking through the playground and the swings are creaking, which happens. Then I realize that there's no wind and only one of the 3 swings is moving back and forth in a regular motion. I never ran so fast in my life. I used to work night shift at a gas station and I could see a playground from the window. It scared the shit out of me. Theme parks. I used to do overnight cleaning in them. When you're there all alone around dead animatronics and weird shaped buildings at 4 AM, it's dark and scary. And then Chuck E. Cheese follows you home. A coworker said the same about cleaning churches at night, minus the animatronics. When he was working on his masters, he was a janitor for an archdiocese, and he said the bigger churches especially get pretty creepy in the dark. It didn't help that one time he ran into a homeless man who had broken in at around 3 AM. I work at 4 AM, so when I walk to my car it's still night basically. Everyone once in a while a person is walking down the sidewalk alone and I can only see them under the street lights. 1000x creepier at night. That's just me getting a slushie while working on a project due the next day. I ran into this a couple nights ago when I was stargazing. While sitting on the back of my car, I hear footsteps and the guy had a flashlight. I slowly started to make my way to the front door before I realized it was just a neighbor I knew walking his dog in pitch darkness. Whatever you're into, I guess, but I nearly had a heart attack. Now imagine that person running as fast as they can straight at you. That's probably me playing Pokemon Go. No worries. The sudden absence of any noise. The air conditioner shuts off. It's suddenly absolutely quiet and you wonder what's creeping up on you that's making no noise whatsoever. Ah yeah, I sleep with a white noise machine usually, and I remember a few years ago the power just shutting off at like 2 AM. Not a fun way to wake up. You know, I think this could be an instinct inherited from our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Like when the jungle goes quiet, it's because there's a predator nearby. Silence at night is relaxing for me, but when I was little, I used to hate it when the power went out. That silence was freaky. Yeah. And as a former trooper, if we could cut off power at the start of an attack, we would. What's up with soldiers on this site taking every opportunity to talk about soldier shit? It's r/just put things leaking all over the place again. Phone calls. Someone knocking or ringing the doorbell. Walked through my town center at like 1 AM one night. No one is around. Every single phone box that is dotted around is ringing. I didn't dare answer one in case I accidentally started one of those crazy mini games on GTA. Edit. A lot of people asking where on earth has phone boxes. When I was at uni, at least 2015 at the time, there were several groups of 4 phone boxes dotted along Luton town centre. Although to be honest, BT phone boxes are pretty common all over the UK and are mostly frequented by homeless people trying to get hold of universal credit. I live in the county. It's 1 AM. If I hear that, I shit you not, I will be out of this realm and on to the next, collecting the infinity stones and then coming back to demolish the threat. In my defense, the last time I knocked on someone's door at 3 AM, it was because the upstairs neighbor yelled so loud and then stayed silent that I got worried. He opened the door with his face covered in blood and being unable to speak properly. I was a second away from calling the psychiatric crisis team, but he kept saying it was fine. Got a text from him the next morning saying he fell from his bike after a night out and was just mad at himself. That was a fun night. The pile of clothes on my chair exists menacingly. I see a little silhouette of man. I've heard that evolutionary processes have made it so our minds actively seek to find faces and body outlines so we can better spot predators in the wild. For that reason, we keep seeing monstrous faces staring back at us from our clothes piles. Ah, the famous chaired robe. Thank you for reminding me of this awesome term. I can't count how many times I've woken up in the middle of the night to see the silhouette of my desk chair looking like a person. A call from your family. 10x doesn't cover that. It's never good news when family calls in the middle of the night. When I worked night shift, I'd get home at 8 AM then crash into bed. All my family knew my schedule. We'd call each other at dinner time, before I headed to work, or while I was headed home from work and they were on their way in. My mom, however, would call probably once a month or so around noon or 1. Then get huffy with, "Are you seriously still asleep? Are you going to sleep all day?" "Yes mom, that's the point. I work all night. I've had this same schedule for 2 years." I answered because I assumed it was an emergency. Because I know the one time I don't, something will actually be wrong. So I started calling her at midnight just to chat. She'd wake up in a panic thinking something was horribly wrong, and I'd just, "Are you already in bed? It's still early. Did you sleep all afternoon? Lazy. Oh, you don't like being woken up. HMM. Sounds familiar. Last time that happened to me, it was my grandma at 2 AM. Dead giveaway, something ain't right. Holy, you're right. OMG, this 10x creepy isn't even close to what you feel. That sinking feeling in your chest, that mini mental preparation you do before sliding that button to answer the phone. You've reached the end. You're a star. Destroy the subscribe button for more like that.